starting, since there's a few of us, we'll just do 2-word feeling, or 2 words to describe the way your day has gone today, and something you're hoping to receive from this call. So I will start.
And also where we're zooming in from, too.
Oh, yeah, and where you're zooming in from. I'm zooming in from Hulualoa near Kona, and I'm feeling grounded and optimistic. And tonight I'm hoping to receive connection with the community. And I'll pass to Sarah, which says Liz, but it's Sarah.
Hi, I actually just got sound, so I don't know what's happening right now, so
I just passed it to you to do a check-in. So just say 2 words of how you're feeling or to describe your day, where you're zooming in from, and something you hope to receive out of this call.
Okay. Could you go to someone else while I figure out the computer and then come back to me?
Let's go to Mirabai.
Okay, I'm Mirabai. I am zooming in from HPP in Pune tonight. You can probably hear my frogs. And I am feeling happy and excited. And I'm hoping to just get some momentum and put a vision together and see what might happen. And I'm in with that, and I will pass it to, who is 808-731-6613?
I don't know who they are. I don't know if they heard 808-731-613. Who's that?
This is Anjali. Good evening. I thought they said 66 something. Good evening. This is Anjali in Hawaii, Hawaii. And I'm feeling tired from my really, really busy day, but happy because I just had a massage. And I am looking forward to just connecting with everybody and getting involved with this project. And with that, I pass it to Shakti. Have you checked in yet?
But actually pass it to somebody else. I'm going to put the instructions in the chat and I'll go last.
Okay, well, I'm not online. I'm going to try to get online, so I don't know who to pass it to next.
That's okay. Okay, I'll, Jan, let's hear from you. I'm going to unmute you, Jan.
Yeah, I'm feeling excited and hopeful because of the situation here in Waimea, where I'm calling in from. And what was the last thing?
And what you'd like to receive tonight?
I would just like to kind of catch up on what's been happening.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So let's go over to Corey.
Hi. Hey, I am tuning in from Captain Cook, and today has been a day full of doula service, and tonight I am interested in connecting and learning and just really feel super curious.
All right, thank you. And how about Lauren, have you checked in yet?
Hey everyone, I'm Lauren. I'm calling in from Naalehu. Today at work, we did a rites of passage training, so I feel like it's just really synchronistic that this lined up tonight. So I'm feeling pretty inspired from that today and just intrigued to learn more about what you are all doing. And that's just what I want to take away tonight is just really getting to hear and sink into the details a little bit more of what y'all have been working on.
All right. Thank you. And how about Sarah now?
Hi. Sorry for the computer problems. I'm calling from Hanamu, Hawaii, which is a little north of Hilo. And feeling really energized right now, and I am looking for just getting a better understanding of what's happening. And I got to talk to Allison a little bit a couple weeks ago, but kind of figuring out what holes there are that still need to be filled and making this thing happen, and how I can maybe help with that or be a bridge or a leverage for resources and other ways. So yeah, thank you guys all.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. And Ashley?
Hi, everyone. I'm Ashley. Most people call me Ash, and I'm calling in from Naalehu as well, just down the road from Lauren. And I had a great day, so I'm just really feeling fulfilled and inspired right now, and that feeling's continuing on through the night, and letting just a lot of the curiosity leading me into tonight to hear about what's going on with Girls to Women and what can be done moving forward and how I can help.
All right, great. Thank you, Ash. And let's see. Danielle, have you checked in?
Yet. I am feeling anticipatory and fluid today on Tuesday. I'm also in Kona, Hawaii, so that's where I'm tuning in from. And in this meeting, I'm really just looking to, hear what you guys got going on a little bit more. I'm just always really inspired by the youth and inspired by those who partake in rites of passage, particularly for adolescents. So I'm just excited to be here.
All right, thank you. I think everybody has checked in except for me. Is there anybody else out there that I might have missed? Just gonna mute you guys. So I am Shakti, and I'm zooming in from Puna, Hawaii, Lower Puna, and I'm feeling really excited and grateful. Grateful to be here, and just grateful to see all of your beautiful faces. And what I'd like to receive tonight is just connection and sisterhood with all of you. Yeah. So with that, I'm in, and I'm just going to go over just a general overview of what we're going to do tonight, and then I'm going to share. We're going to pass the baton again. But basically, what we're going to do between myself, Mirabai, and Allison is we are going to give you kind of an overview of Girls to Women, and we're going to kind of go through some of the just the different the history and different departments that we've kind of been working on so far, so that you can get an idea of what's been happening. And then we're gonna see what kinds of questions you have, and we're gonna share with you different ways to get involved and talk about what we're gonna do to move forward. And yeah, that's pretty much going to take up all of our time. So we're going to start this off with the overview with Mirabai. And Mirabai is going to share with us, she's going to talk about the marketing and outreach and the governance. So why don't you start, Mirabai?
Okay, and feel free to ask questions. So, and I just want to kind of, just to be really authentic in this moment, to say I'm feeling a bit upset about what just happened with Mary, our treasurer, resigning on the call. So my heart is kind of hurting, and I'm feeling sad and shocked and somewhat, yeah, I have a lot of feelings going on around that. So I just need to name that. So, Girls to Women Hawaii. We began, I guess, in August, September. And how it all began really is that there's been an organization called Boys to Men that's been going for about 20 years. And they had opened up in Hawaii, and my partner's a mentor there, and he kept saying, you know, they really need to have girls programs, and because I'm very involved with women's work, and I've also had done a Rites of Passage weekend, created one in South Africa. You know, he kept mentioning this, and I always felt like I was very called to Rites of Passage, but school-based mentoring, which is the model they do, I was like, oh, I don't know, not so much. And however, he sort of kept saying, you know, this really needs to happen. And the more I thought about it, I thought, oh, well, yes. And I was like, I'm really busy with everything else, but how about this? I'll just, like, you know, organize a Zoom call. So that was like my idea of, I'll just organize a Zoom call, and I don't know how many months it is now, like maybe more than 6 months. Here we are, and I somehow ended up in this board and doing this thing, or at least we've been doing our best to take steps to deliver mentoring to the girls here, because they need it and they deserve it. So it has been a really interesting journey, I'm going to say that, and you all are here, and I'm just so excited there are so many new faces here, because this is kind of a new beginning for us. We have been moving along and trying different things, and I'm going to give you a view of the things we've done. But we are very much still in a place of creating. So if you've come along and you're interested in being part of the beginning and co-creating your vision, there is still time to do that, because the upside of everything being the way it is right now is this is still very much a space for creation. Nothing is fixed in stone, and we are open to holding the vision and having amazing women come together and give whatever the highest good is for the girls in silence. So we are called right now Girls to Women Hawaii, which was sort of based off of the Boys to Men, an obvious title. And we have a website, a very basic website, and we have a mission statement, which I'm going to read to you, which is that we support adolescent girls to encourage and inspire each other and develop the confidence, character, skills, and resilience to thrive on their journey into womanhood through school-based mentoring, school-based group mentoring, and adventure weekends. So that is the mission statement. And so just a really brief overview of how we've arrived here. So we came up with a name, started a Facebook page, put out some invitations and had people come on a phone call
we began to hold meetings. We got a URL and a logo and got photos. And then things really sort of took off because I got invited sort of serendipitously to go over to the Bay Area and do some training there because the Boys to Men mentoring over there was wanting to start Girls to Women. And so I also got asked to join the Boys to Men board and to help them develop programs for girls. So I learned quite a lot about their model. And we are not attached to their model, although it is an option. And their model is not curriculum based. So their model is about having circles and really more allowing the students to bring up the topics. So in that sense, if you sat in a women's circle, it's a bit, it's more like that rather than a training or teaching. One of the reasons that we looked into following their model is because they have a 20-year track record of success. They have a lot of evidence-based research showing that it works. And they are also willing to give us access to the model. And when I say the model, I mean like the nuts and bolts of all the paperwork you need, how to administer, that kind of stuff too, without any charge. So, and they're also already kind of established here, and they're in Maui and Oahu. So what we did was start to look into how that works, and I went and did training and became a Train the Trainer, and we actually did a training here for mentors already for schools. And we've been networking, speaking to different stakeholders, talking to people who are trying to start girls' versions. And we also have been looking at, which Shakti will go into, other options for other models. So Boys to Men was interested in supporting us to start this going here. And they had offered to be a fiscal sponsor. And for anybody that doesn't know, a fiscal sponsor is like a charity that's already established. And when you want to start a nonprofit, you can go under their umbrella because there's a whole lot of paperwork involved in becoming a 501(c)(3). And so sponsorship means that someone who already is a 501(c)(3) kind of adopts you, and you're allowed to collect donations, give people tax write-offs until you get on your feet. And originally Boys to Men Hawaii had offered that to us. As things went on, we did do a joint training with them, and we had one of their board members came onto our initial board, and she was going to be responsible for all of the fundraising. She left, and that did sort of put us into a bit of a holding pattern. And we also began to realize that maybe the way that the flow was going with the Boys to Men wasn't really feeling very nurturing or supportive to us. So we decided to put a hold on that. But we have an executive committee of a board, and we were about to start assembling a big formal board when that happened. And so we kind of took a pause to regroup. The things that we have done, we did become incorporated. We registered with the state of Hawaii. We have this executive committee of directors. We have agreements. We have an organizational structure. We've applied for an EIN number. We're ready to get a bank account. And we've also been looking at other charities that would be good to be under an umbrella about. So I feel like that was a lot of blurb and kind of the boring stuff. And I'm gonna stop there and hand over to Shakti to talk about some more interesting things. like, what is it we're planning to do?
Okay, so yeah, what I was going to talk about next, just to update people, is on, well, two things. I'm going to talk about the training that we've already done. So like Mirabai said, she attended the Boys to Men mentor training, and then she took that Train the Trainer course. And then basically what she did was she adapted the Boys to Men training and made it available for women to do also. She kind of adapted it. And so she held these two trainings. It was called Reclaim Your Teenage Fire. And actually there, I know Sarah was there, and Allison, a few of you were there, and also some of your colleagues at Pacific Class graduates from there also came to that. But there were 20 women that were able to take that course that Mirabai put on. She put it on the Big Island here in Puna, and then she also did it in Maui. And yeah, that was really, really successful. And now we're, in terms of training, what we're thinking is that we really want to gather the mentors, and we want to put out some kind of skills training. And we're not sure when it's going to be, but we definitely have talked about that's going to be in the future. The other thing is Mirabai's been traveling a lot and hooking up. She's also been helping out doing some training in the Bay Area, and she's also going to be going to India. And so while we're really local, we do have visions to kind of be a pilot and then expand to other places. So part of what we recently have been talking about, our executive board, is in preparing to talk to all of you, because we're at the place now where we're really ready to open it up, and we want to bring more people on board with us. But we've been talking about like the timing that's realistic for us, and what we're kind of thinking of right now is we kind of have like a short-term goal of perhaps getting in the schools in August of 2018, at least maybe in 2 schools. We're looking at the Puna area and Honaka'a area right now for this coming new school year. And then we're looking at having a larger launch the following year in 2019. But that's kind of also needs to be determined, but that's what kind of our thoughts have been so far. And then the other area that I was just going to briefly update you on is this idea about the programming. And so while we've been watching what Boys to Men are doing, my husband's also a mentor with Boys to Men, so I'm very aware of what they do in the school. I've been kind of looking into, do we want to have a curriculum or not? So I've been looking at some other different organizations, different programs for girls. We've looked into the rites of passage of adolescence. We've looked into different after-school programs, different group and peer mentoring, nationally and internationally. So we've basically just kind of done some research on the different programs that are out there, and just to see what already exists. So we checked in with Empowered Girls Alliance, and we're also, some of these organizations have existed and then they're no longer in existence. So we're trying to learn like what their successes were and what their failures were. There's another organization in the Bay Area called Spotlight Girls, or Go Girls, that I looked into. And they're a different model. They're like a franchise, and they're more of like a business, but they do camps and after school programs. So we were looking into that. And then there's a program called Girls Inc., which is really, really established. And and they're not taking on new groups right now, so that wasn't a possibility. So anyway, we've been looking at all these different possibilities, and we're still interested in the Boys to Men model, since it's here and available to us, and it's local. And yeah, and then we've just been looking into like some self-love curriculum and art, and just we're pretty open in terms of that. So that's going to be like a whole different conversation. And the other thing is we haven't exactly pinpointed what age group we're going to do. I know Mirabai said in the mission statement, it said adolescents, but I think it's also teenagers in that mission statement. But we haven't actually pinpointed where we're going to start. So that's something that we'll all need to decide if you get involved on the board. So those are the main things that I wanted to share with the training and with programming. And now I think what we're going to do is just have Allison talk about some of the operations and the fundraising, and then we'll open it up to you guys for questions.
Before Allison starts, just wanted to explain, because a lot of mentoring, which is well known, is like one-on-one, like big brothers, big sisters. And what we're talking about is group mentoring. So it is, the model we're looking at would be, say, 3 adult mentors in a circle as a group activity. And that would be, mostly we've been looking at the model, they do it during school hours. So I just wanted to pick up on that. And and the other thing is, Shakti, we're going to talk about rites of passage.
Not right here. I think Allison will.
Oh, Allison. Okay.
I don't think it fit into mine. I think that comes into the different ways that people can get involved, but maybe Allison will talk about that. I think that's in the categories of how people, what different departments they want to get involved in. But yeah, that is a good point. So just on the one hand, we're focusing for the short run with these in the school, during having a mentoring program during school hours. And then we're also aspiring to having weekends where we do rites of passage. And this is also something that Boys to Men do, is they do their school programs and then they have their weekend programs. So that is something that we all are pretty passionate about, and we're all really excited about that.
Yeah, I can add to that too. So if anybody isn't familiar, rites of passage is a meaningful transition from one phase of life to another. And so teenagers are in a huge rites of passage, which is going from adolescent to adulthood. And so bringing a program that provides mentorship first, to guide these teenagers into empowerment and support of one another and themselves, and then following with a rites of passage adventure weekend to have like activities and groups that emphasize what it means to move from that phase to the phase that's ahead, which is womanhood. So yeah. And then, so in regards to operations, so we've been meeting as an executive board, and we've been discussing a lot about running the program. And so it's been a lot of discussion, and now we're starting to think of moving out into the community. And so that involves communicating with teachers and parents, mentors, schools, and having a committee or liaisons that are that bridge, that connection to communicate with them, see what the girls want, what they need, what they would find useful to have in a circle space or in a mentorship space, as well as speaking with teachers on what they feel is needed as well, and having that perspective in schools on what it would take to bring girls to women into the schools. And so starting with potentially 2 schools and then working bigger and moving to the broader community on the island. Also, we had discussed a liaison, like a cultural liaison. So the Big Island, there's the indigenous Hawaiian culture, but yet there's also a lot of people that move here in their adolescence from the Marshall Islands or the Philippines or mainland America. And so there's several different cultural backgrounds in these high schools. And so having someone that, or a team of people that are a cultural liaison, and having us be sure that we are not appropriating other cultures or also integrating cultures with people who are of that culture, if we do, if that makes sense. We also so Boys to Men has sent us a lot of paperwork. How Mirabai was speaking earlier about becoming a 501c3, there's a lot of paperwork. Well, Boys to Men has offered us a good amount of their paperwork, so we have obtained a waiver that will say that we are able to use the materials that they've given us. And we also have received a liability insurance quote from them for what it would take to begin in the schools. And then regards to fundraising, we have talked a lot about fundraising and researched different models and talked about budgets and business plans. Mirabai and I are actually working on a business plan for Girls to Women. I attended this place in Kona. There's also a location in Hilo. It's called Hawaii Small Business Development Center, and they offered a training on creating a business plan. And so we got that guideline, and they also offered to meet with us for free and go over it with us afterwards. And so what the business plan will be key for is to show to possible fiscal sponsors. They'll want to see how we're managing Girls to Women. And so that will be a concrete document to show to them. So Mirabai and I are working on that. And also we began researching possible government funding sources and grants from foundations, corporate or potential corporate sponsorship. So like when you go to Foodland and they're at the end, they're like, do you want to donate? Lauren, you actually gave me this idea. It was such a brilliant idea. Do you want to donate to this nonprofit? We could try to get in touch with them and having corporate sponsorship with that. Or also, Mirabai had mentioned Live Aloha, which is like a clothing and accessory company that has Live Aloha written on it, and it's Hawaii based, and seeing if they would like to work with us too as a corporate sponsorship. Mirabai around Thanksgiving did Giving Tuesday, which it brought in about, Mirabai, how much was it? About 300, I think. Just of donations from people online. And so we found that that was pretty effective, and we've talked about doing a GoFundMe account for seed money to get us started, as well as doing like a benefit concert and holding events in that way. Also, there is a group called, let me find it real quick. It's called Funds to Orgs, and it's a organization that helps nonprofits come up with creative ways to do fundraising. And you can interact with them. They'll come up with what they feel like is most suitable for where you're at. But one thing that they specialize in the most is shoe fundraisers. So you'll have a school, rather than people donating money, they'll bring in shoes. You send the shoes into Funds to Orgs, and then they write you a check for your charity, which that sounded really cool. I love checking out that website. I can email it to you guys if you're interested in seeing that. And then also there's a fundraiser in San Diego that Boys to Men did, and it's a 100 wave challenge. So people go out and they try to surf 100 waves in one day, and they make it this big fun event. And last year Boys to Men raised $349,000 in just that event. So we talked about being able to do something like that on the island, getting people involved in that way. I also want to update people who have been involved along the lines of the last few months. And with Boys to Men, the last update that we were all together, we were going to be a part of a fundraiser that they do at the Four Seasons in Kona. They offered us space to speak about Girls to Women on stage with a microphone and spread awareness of it to people that have been annually donating to Boys to Men at a golf outing. And so they offered that, and then they also offered for us to have our own booth and receive donations for Girls to Women. And that ended up not following through due to a miscommunication within their organization on their board. They were not actually able to offer that space up in the end. So we supported Boys to Men in it, but we did not participate with Girls to Women. I think that's all I've got. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add a couple of the things under the corporate sponsorship. We also were thinking about Dove Beauty Soap, for example, or Tampax or other, companies that use money for PR, especially specifically for girls or women. And we've been looking a lot into grants as well, different grants that we could be eligible for, and things like the juvenile, I can't remember the right, it's a thing that prevents teens from getting into prison. They have a lot of money available, so it's just a couple of other sources we looked at for potentially for raising funds.
Great. I think that's a good start for us right now, just giving everyone like an overview of what we have been doing. And so now we kind of want to hear from you, just if there are any questions that have come up while we've been talking, or we just want to open it up since we've been talking and hear from you. And we are going to go in a little bit after we hear your questions. We're going to talk about more specifically how to get involved, but just want to take a pause right now and see if any of you have questions. So you're all muted, so if you want to speak, you can just unmute yourself, or you could raise your hand and I can unmute you, however you want to do it.
Jan?
Okay.
So thank you very much. I just wanted to say is what I've noticed. This is my 4th year of mentoring and my 1st year with this particular girl. And her favorite thing to do is fight. And she would like to stop fighting. And what I'm seeing is something like Girls to Women would be perfect, because these girls need support and need a friend that they can who understands what's going on with them. So I love the idea of the Girls to Women. And I'm not clear, are you becoming your own 501c3, or are you going to stay under Boys to Men?
We're not under Boys to Men. They had originally offered us that, and we've decided that it's not the right fit for us. So we are looking for another fiscal sponsor right now.
And to answer you asked if we were going to become our own 501c3 nonprofit. So it's a very long process to do that. So our strategy right now is to find a fiscal sponsorship to help us so that we can receive the funds. That's our plan.
I think you're very smart to do that, because I just got off the board of West Hawaii Mediation Center and worked for a nonprofit for 20 years, and it's very complicated. So I think that's a very good thing, is to find the right organization. Yeah,
and Jan, you're up in Waimea, aren't you?
Yes.
And there's an organization there that we are looking at. Allison, what's the name of that one?
It's called Friends of the Future.
Right. Do you know them?
Yeah. Yes, Friends of the Future. One of my best friends has just stepped down of being one of the two heads of that organization for the last 20 years, and she's still involved. So, yeah.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah. So, yeah, that's one of our ideas, and they've been highly recommended. Yeah.
That's a very good one.
Thank you. And yeah, I appreciate hearing your experience in the school, and yeah, that makes sense.
And I just want to say, because I think this is universal, I think middle school is a very difficult time for kids. Waimea Middle School, there's a lot of bullying.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went into the office and I said, well, do you have an anti-bullying program? They said, we don't have any money for that, which I thought was the lamest thing I had heard.
Yeah.
And, but these kids need support. I love that you want to do it in the school, because they don't have transportation, a lot of them, and it's the only time that we can reach them. And the school does need to be on board. And you talked about the principal and teachers, and I'm sure the counselors too could be real advocates if they're not too overwhelmed. But anyway, I'm very interested. So.
Okay, thank you. And we'll let you know more ways that you can get involved. So anyone else have some questions? We'd love to hear from you now.
Hi, everyone. I have a question. So from Allison, you were talking about these fundraising goals that you have set, and that these are some visions to get some money under your all's belt. And I'm curious, in order to meet that goal in August to launch at the two schools, what needs to happen? Like, have you kind of set a financial goal for that August 2018 launch? Or can it be pretty bare minimum in order to begin the process?
Yeah, great question. Allison, did you want to answer that, or you want me to?
Well, the other day when we were speaking about the two options, I was cutting in and out a lot on the computer, so I'm not sure if we had an exact quote, or if we're sure of that or not.
Well, basically, when we're thinking about starting in August, basically we think that the bare minimum would be to cover insurance cost, which right now I think our quote is between $2,000 and $3,000, and then the other expense that we're going to have is the background checks for each of the mentors, and I think that's $25. And we were thinking that each of the mentors could pay for that. So actually, to answer you, we're still working on that exact number that we're going to need. And it's partly Mirabai and Allison are working on that budget. So we don't have a number yet, but that's partly we want to come up with a number so that we can, have that goal and target it. So we don't have that number yet. Mirabai, do you have anything else you want to say on that?
Yeah, I think it's under $5,000, maybe even under $3,000. And it really is one of those chicken and egg things. I mean, this is all voluntary. And right now, we've just been donating has needed to be paid for, but the liability insurance is the non-negotiable. We can't go into school without that. And so what we want to do is to start, because then we can begin to show what we can do. Then we can actually begin to collect data. Then we can go, and ask for money from other people saying, hey, this is what we do, as opposed to it being theoretical. So we really need to get like a seed money amount so we can actually start doing the thing we say that we want to do. Because it's going to be a lot easier to ask them for money once we can say that we're doing it successfully. So it's not a lot of money, really.
And once we're in the schools, then we'll be able to create more promotional materials like videos and everything. So part of it is, that we want to get in there and have some experience. So, I think we don't have an exact number, but it's somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000. And that's something that we're going to have to determine.
Yeah, just an idea when it comes to fundraising. I think going into the markets is a really cheap way to reach a lot of people in the community, so just at the Maku'u market and maybe the market in Kona, just an easy way to reach people and see if anyone wants to donate.
Thank you. That's an excellent idea. And Mirabai and I are already sitting at the Maku'u market for another organization, Woman Within. And so we can kind of add that to that. That would be real natural for us. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And then, Allison, just whenever you complete that business plan, I'd love to kind of just take a look, and if that's appropriate, if you feel like that's appropriate, I'd love to be able to take a look at it.
Yeah, I would love that.
And Jan, yes.
Have you started speaking to people at the schools yet?
There's a little bit. There's one contact we have with the Honeka'a school. They, so because Boys to Men is in some of these schools, we have some communication in those schools. And one thing that happened in the Honeka'a school was, you were talking about anti-bullying, and they happened to have a program called the Challenge Day that was for middle schoolers that I actually went into. So there, and it was a one-day program where they take 7th and 8th graders through this really profound interactive day where they're just breaking all the barriers. And I mean, the kids at the end of it are all hugging each other. It's a magical kind of place. But after that, a lot of the counselors and teachers wanted to see something in place. So they are definitely asking for it. And Allison knows one of the teachers. So we have our feelers out there, and that's definitely, and also in the schools, HAAS, the Hawaii Academy of Arts and Science, in Pahoa here. And so we have some contacts, but we, need to pursue that more.
I think that because Boys to Men is already in those schools and doing well, that that's going to be very easy for us. I think that we're not going to have a shortage of schools wanting us.
Yeah.
Especially when we get going. It's really a case.
And maybe this would be a good time just to kind of let you all know the different ways that we are wanting to get people involved. And specifically, like, we really are open at this point. We want to expand. We want to invite you all if you want to be on our board, and we need more people contributing. And so we really want to invite you in whatever way you'd like to join us. I have here on there's this polling thing on, let me just launch it, on on Zoom that you can actually look at. So there's these categories that we came up with that we're gonna, just ways to get involved. For instance, we're gonna need people in administration, we're gonna need bookkeeping, we're actually gonna need a new treasurer at this point. There's different departments, cultural awareness, we need help with designing, graphic artists, websites, logos, and maybe Mirabai, you could put our website up in the chat group there too, so people could just reference that. We're going to need people to focus on the fiscal sponsorship to actually choose who we're going to go with. Fundraising is a category. We're also looking for people to help us with grant writing, market research, and specifically we need mentors. And so there's a long list. You'll see there's 2 different categories. I have it from A to M and then O to S on this poll. Outreach marketing, we need help with PowerPoint presentations, rites of passage, staffing, rites of passage, catering for the weekend, schools liaisons, social media, stakeholders, recruitment, strategic planning. So those are a lot of different areas. And what we're kind of wanting from you is just to kind of, if something jumps out at you, we'd love to know what you're interested in. And you can either just answer this poll or we'll send out a follow-up email so you can think about it more, ways that you'd like to get involved. But these are the different areas that we thought we need help in. Yeah, so Mirabai put our website up, which is girlstowomenhawaii.org.
Which is a very, very basic website right now. So that's why website is on the list. And I mean, the most important thing, not the most important thing, but one of the things that is a priority is, now we've had this reshuffle, is to actually have a board, and we are talking about that commitment being, could be even for the formal board, it could be like quarterly, and then we'll probably have different groups like subcommittees that would meet in between or monthly. So, but we do need to have like probably 15 to 20 women or men for that matter who can really hold this vision together. And we are not asking, a lot of nonprofits ask people on the board to come up with money, and we're not actually asking for money from anybody to be on the board. And also just think about, we also want to have like advisory board members. So if you know people or you know people who know people who would be perhaps local politicians or people in public education or kind of like celebrity or influential people who could be advisory members, that would be really good too. We're going to need to raise money to do this. So, and I think that one of the things that I've noticed is that initially a lot of the people that come forward are the people who are really passionate about doing the mentoring. And now what we need to do is also find people who are passionate about building the structure that supports us all to go and do the mentoring. So, you know, if we could, you know, get that seed money to get started, then that would be something. But then basically the next 9 months, year is all going to be about finding ways to get the money so that we can actually do this and roll it out.
So if I'm thinking, so you need to find, in order to write grants, for instance, you really be able to go under the umbrella of a nonprofit, and then you can write grants. And I'm wondering, a program of that nonprofit, and I wonder if you can write same funders as the umbrella organization itself does, or if that's considered, and you would have to find your own sources. Although, if you can get under the Kohala Center, they're really great.
That's a really awesome question, Jan. Thank you.
They have about 75 grants.
And that's the other reason to get started, because we can't write a grant without actually saying that we're doing something. And one thing that we're very determined to do is to do really good like data collection. So to think very carefully about the things we want to measure. And for the very first group, be measuring things, measuring outcomes that we can then say to people for grants. Oh, you know, the girls that went through our program, you know, self-reported higher self-esteem, or even they're, you know, looking at not just attendance, but some like emotional health scales, because those are the things that we'll need to do to get the grant.
I wonder if you could get graduate students to do that.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, that's good. And also just to go back to your other question about whether, you know, if we have a fiscal sponsorship, can we use, what I heard you say is, can we use, you know, go under their grants, whatever. And, you know, basically it depends on who we're with. And I mean, it's one of the questions that when we are interviewing our fiscal sponsorship is we'll have to ask them, can you give us support with grant writing, and would it be a conflict? And so it's very particular to who we choose. And that's definitely something we'll have to look at when we get that far in the choice.
Well, one of the options we have, although they're very small, is a nonprofit here called the Holy Women Icons Project. Mm-hmm. And they are actually see it as an advantage to be able to partner. They say that, in fact, for grant writing, it's often good to have partner organizations. So they actually saw it as an advantage when they offered us that. They're very, very small, so they may not be a good choice in terms of a more established nonprofit that could help us with things.
I wanted to speak to what you were just sharing about wanting to do some outcome measuring. For the organization I work for right now, I'm one of the managers for our outcome measuring and for our long-term success rates. And so I'd be happy to pass on the research that I have for not our organization, but the different outcome measuring tools and the different strategies we can use and implement to get some solid data and collection in the very beginning stages.
Awesome. Thank you.
That is fantastic. That makes me really excited.
Data is important and a pain in the butt.
Are those tools that cost money, or
there's a variety of them, and so yeah, most of them you'll have to pay in the beginning. And the one we use, because it's pretty advanced, not the survey itself, but the data collection, like website, and the ability to have some graphs and some really solid information on that's expensive, but you don't need to start off that way. It can be some really simple technological ones that we can utilize in the beginning. So
yeah, that's like another thing in the back of my mind to go into the budget, is stuff like that, paying for.
Yeah, I can send a list of some options, and then can look into a little bit more detail of like the costs into it all.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have to sign off, but I want to stay in touch.
Okay, is that Jan?
Yes.
Okay, well, we will, we're going to send you a follow-up email. And so thank you so much for your time. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Do we have your email?
Yes.
And info? Yes. Okay, great. Yeah. Wonderful. So delighted you were here, Jan. Thank you.
Well, great job. You guys are doing great. It's so important. Okay.
All right. Have a great evening. Yeah.
I
So-
was curious, you guys had mentioned that you had done some work trying to connect with after-school programming. I know there's a lot of after-school programs on the island that get a lot of grant money, you know, just to try and entertain kids and not really do much more. I was wondering what kind of outreach you had done with some of the local schools here, if that was an option at all.
Well,
No,
we weren't really, I mean, we're just aware that there are after school programs. I know that there's a little bit of, yeah, and they do receive grant money, but we weren't really putting our focus. I don't know, we've kind of heard that it's sometimes hard to get the kids to come, but if it's already an existing program, I see what you're saying. We hadn't focused that way, but yeah, we could.
Yeah, it was I worked in the after school program at Waiakea Intermediate for a while, and they have all kinds of grant money. They're not even doing that much with the kids, and over half the kids go to after school programs because parents work, and there's a lot of low income kids.
Okay.
I really do like the idea. I think I was talking to Allison about, and I know Boys to Men does it during the school day.
Yeah.
Because then it is kind of a thing that, I don't know, kids have more energy probably than they would after school and would be more engaged. And it's a thing that, like, you know, it's a class they're going to rather than just a...
No, I hear what you're saying. I mean, it's definitely, it could be an option for us. You're right. I know that there's a really strong I think it's called Girls and Boys Club. Is that what it is? With like the Y, they have it here in Nanavali. It's very strong.
Yeah. And you mentioned, what other kinds of hoops do you have to jump through to work with the school? I mean, you said obviously that all the mentors need to get
background checks. If
you were to do, say, a fundraising event with moms and daughters or with school kids, like, would there need to be like background checks for that, or just your own forms?
Not for a, well, it depends what we're doing with them.
Yeah.
When you say a fundraiser, if we're doing something where people could get physically hurt.
Yeah. I guess that's her
possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably not.
Well,
we
and
probably
there'll
wouldn't have
be
that
more,
insurance.
No, and there'll be much more stipulations, like when we do the rites of passage weekend. There'll be more involved in that, for sure.
I mean, one of the good things is that we have like a lot of the administration structure that we need from Boys to Men. So we have things like, oh, you need a memorandum of understanding, and you need this policy and that policy, and a lot of that kind of infrastructure stuff. Like, we don't have to invent the wheel. We can just say, oh, that's the stuff we need. Okay, shall we move on, Shakti?
Sure, we can move on. And what we're basically, the next thing we're going to talk about is just moving forward, you know, what we need, what we really need, and what we really need is just more involvement. So we want to just encourage any of you to join us. And I guess the best way, I mean, thank you for those of you who filled out this poll. I mean, it just tells us a little bit, you know, that you're interested. And but I think what we'll do is we'll do a follow-up email, and we want to know, yeah, if we want to know like how you want to be involved. And one of the things I know we're going to be meeting, the three of us are going to be meeting in a week, and we also want to see when it's convenient for some of you to join us again on another call. So we have to decide that next. We have to kind of come up with a next meeting date, and just really what, I know Mirabai and Allison are continuing to work on this business plan, basically. And So we know that's a next step that we need to do. But we want to really just encourage others to come in and join us.
So shall we do a checkout? And what I'd love to hear is just kind of just maybe a where you are right now, what you're feeling, if you think you might want to jump on the bandwagon, if that's not too much pressure. Yeah, just anything you'd like to say to finish up.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah. So why don't we can just unmute people, and then you can speak up and check out. And we'd love to hear what you're excited about, how you'd like to be involved, and just what's coming up for you now, how you're feeling.
I'll begin. I love collaborative workspaces like this, and I'm just grateful that we have technology, because how special it is that we're all like representative of different parts of the island. And with that, my mind is just very interested in getting involved, and also I'm in a very remote part of the island, and so recognizing the limitations there, and would love to continue to support how I can, especially through this power of technology. And continue to brainstorm. Yeah, feeling grateful for the sisterhood that's here right now.
All right, thank you.
I'm super grateful for all of you and all the hard work that you've already put into this. And I definitely am like, needing to take some deep breaths of just feeling like creating the structure for this to happen. I don't have a lot of experience with like grant writing and those sorts of things, but I've witnessed a lot of other people doing it, and I have time and energy. So, and I'm staying in Captain Cook with an Ohana, and there's a 9-year-old little sister here, and the mothers just yesterday were talking about how they're wanting to create rites of passage for their daughters, and they actually used to be substitute teachers at one of the schools here in Kona. So they've just shared their experiences in the schools, and I just feel like it's a really valuable connection to be in community with these women that like already really want it and know it for their own daughters, and just like expanding that out. So I'm just really interested to help with what's needed now. I don't fully know what that is, but I'm available. So.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, Corey, I'm feeling the exact opposite of you, in that I'm kind of in my position right now. I'm kind of helping develop the safety and security of our rites of passage program and just the company as a whole. And so I do have a lot of knowledge when it comes to development and policy and things like that. And I think I can be really strong in helping you with that. And also am working a full-time job and have that limitation. So kind of a balanced effort. I also have a partner who majored in business and can probably help a little bit with the business plan and things of that nature, and like calculations and money. And he's really good at that. And I could be like a real support for the design and the protocol of the program. Just really want to extend my gratitude. I feel like this is a really big thing that you're undertaking, and is also really needed within the island and our society as a whole. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
I can speak. Yeah, of course, I am overjoyed and very grateful to be part of this circle as well of really strong and inspiring women. And I just feel honored to be here. So thank you for that. And my schedule has been really fluid for a long time. So I always love to jump into and learn a lot of new things. I am really passionate about data collection too. I'm a RBT, a behavior technician in Kona, and my job is taking a lot of data on behavior. We're also trying, well, the Department of Education has just approved RBTs to enter schools as well. And I believe they're going to be starting the funding for that. But if I can go to get into the schools through my company, I just am really excited to learn more about networking inside schools and learning through, there's all of the children that I work with go to different schools too. And I know they each have different legations and acceptance and interests. So I'm just really excited, and especially for the rites of passage portion and mentorship. I'm just, inspired and thankful to be here, and thankful for all of your hard work as well. I know there's a lot going into this, so.
All right, thank you.
I can go. I'm feeling really refreshed after this circle, and hearing how all of us have come together with so many different experiences and gifts, and that we all share the common feeling that mentorship and rites of passage is imperative for adolescents, and that so many people are willing to do anything they can to bring this to fruition. Even if you have a full-time job or a lot of energy, you're just willing to do what you can, and I'm really appreciative of that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
This is Anjali, and I'll go next. I feel extremely excited about this group, and I felt that way since I heard about it. So it's great to be a part of this call. I have many things that I could offer, but predominantly I feel curriculum or project-based mentorship groups. I have done a lot of curriculum writing, including my own book, and maybe we don't want to call it curriculum, but what would we be doing in these groups? I'd like to be a part of creating a book or something that could be used by all the mentors. I'd like to offer my expertise in that and my experience in that. I'd like to also offer my ability in groups to cooperatively create a vision and bring it to fruition. So I would love to join the board and be a part of a large group of women. I think you were saying 15 or something like that that would be on the board. I do live in a different part of the island, but I have created a situation for myself where I'm free 4 days in a row now, so I could travel if I needed to. And I just think this is a great idea. It's extremely inspiring. I also did a homeschool group of girls only for 10 years, which I've spoken about before. And as a part of that group, that homeschool group, every year I did have a mentorship group once a week with my girls and their families. So I could bring whatever experience you all could draw out of me, I could bring that to this, and I would love to share that. And with that, thank you very much. Mahalo.
Thank you, Anjali.
Is it my turn?
Sure.
Wow, I am just feeling kind of overwhelmed with joy and just incredibly inspired. And it just, this call, especially kind of with the very rocky beginning and the ups and downs, I was thinking to myself earlier, I was like, okay, trust the process. And the fact that you are all here on this call just feels amazing. And I'm very excited. And I just want to thank Allison and Shakti for having hung in there. We've been working really hard and just trying to shoulder this together. And wow, look, there are these incredible women here. And I just feel really excited and really grateful to you all. Thank you so much. And you are all, you know, just the fact that you're spending your Wednesday evening thinking about giving to girls, I think that's just something amazing about each of you. And I'm glad that I've met you all. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Mirabai. And this is Shakti, and I just feel so touched. My heart is very expanded right now. It's amazing to hear all of you, and I feel very inspired and encouraged, and definitely my need for connection and sisterhood was really met tonight. So thank you all for being here. I'm looking forward to getting to know all of you and expanding Girls to Women, and I think that we've planted some good seeds here, and I'm excited to go forward with all of you. So thank you for joining us on the call, and we will keep you up to date and let you know when we're going to meet again. So just stay tuned. Allison, Mirabai, and I will meet, and we'll be letting you know what's next. So thank you again for joining us, and wish you all a beautiful evening. Much love.